Okay, so in this video we're going to do 13, 14, and 15, and these videos demonstrate the use of what we call a correlated subquery. And basically, all of the subqueries that we've done up until this point are subqueries that execute once. You know, within the context of the larger query, the subquery executes once. But in a correlated subquery, you have a subquery that's executing for as many rows that are returned by the main query. Okay, so you have a subquery that's going to execute possibly many times during the course of that entire SQL statement running. So basically, let's look at number 13. I know that's kind of a difficult concept to grasp, and it does mention it in your book, and it's one of those things that you kind of just have to sit there and quietly think about and try to let that gel. But anyway, number 13 says, write a correlated subquery to display a list of all products that are, and here's key, below average cost for any given vendor. You know, we've seen something like this earlier in this series of videos where we're asked for all the products that are below average price for all of them, the whole shebang. But this is different. We're saying, okay, we are interested in products that are below average price within that particular vendor. So any of Demori's products, for example, that are below average of the below Demori's average. Any what's another one here? What's that one? Venchi products that are below the average Venchi price, and so on and so forth. So again, the subquery is going to getting that average of the vendor prices. I mean, there are multiple vendors that are going to be returned. That subquery is going to execute on each one of them. So what we have to do is do a correlated subquery. And in a correlated subquery, it's almost like you're creating two copies of the table in question, in this case the inventory table. And we're going to call one of them the main table, and the other one is a subtable. So let's do that, and you'll see. And then number 14 and 15 are kind of similar. So let's see. All right. We're going to select, and I'll just go ahead and grab everything here. This is going to be from the inventory table. All right, so from inventory. Okay, but however, it's not enough to just leave it at that. We have to say as, and then we're going to give this table an alias. I mean, you can pick any alias you want, but I don't want to do something simple like I, because I want to do something very descriptive here. I'm going to call this INV main. So this is like the main copy of the table, so to speak. And we're not really copying the table, but it's almost like we're pretending we are. So this is from the main table, part of the main query, and then we're going to say where item cost less than. Okay, and then now I'm diving into my subquery, which is going to find the average price of any given vendor. Okay, so average price of each item, I should say, for any given vendor. So we're going to say select ABG item cost from inventory again, not enough to just leave it at that. We're going to give this one an alias, and I'm going to call this one INV sub. So this is like the subquery copy, which isn't really a copy, of our inventory table. So we have INV main and INV sub, and then we have to join them. So it's like a join. You're like joining the table with itself. So I'm going to add a where clause here. We'll say where INV underscore main, oops, dot, and then I have to pick one of these columns here. Now, which one should I do? Really, we're interested in the vendor. We're interested in grouping by vendor, so that's the one I'm going to grab. So where vendor ID equals INV sub, vendor ID. Okay, let's run it. Okay, so these are all the inventory products that cost less than the average of whatever their vendors are. Okay, 15 rows. Let's do another one. Let's do number 14. It'll be similar. Write a correlated subquery to display the list of all products that are below average cost for any given product category. Okay, so this one, you know what, this one is a little bit, let's see, oh, okay, you know, actually this one is very, very similar, but the difference is we're not talking about vendors here, we're talking about item categories, meaning bars and squares, chips, fondue pots, or whatever, pails. So let's, I'm going to copy this. Really, the key is here in the where clause in the subquery. On which column are you joining these two tables, the INB sub and INB main? Okay, the scenario is exactly the same, but we're interested in a different variable here, not the vendor itself, but rather the category. So basically, I'm just going to choose category ID, and that'll do it. That's all we need to do. Okay. Oops. I'm going to comment this out. Okay. So 14 rows in that case. So again, getting back to the original question, those are the products that cost below average for whatever category they are. All right, so if the average bars and squares is $10, the average bar or square type product is $10, the ones that make the cut in that query are the ones that are less than $10. And then if the average fondue pail is $25, then those products that are less than that will have made the cut. So it was just a different way of looking at the data. Before, in number 13, we were interested in vendors, and then in number 14, we were interested in the categories.